And so happy to have you with us today. The word innovation is probably got more definitions than we can figure out, but I will tell you this. We have today just a really interesting group of companies that have very unique ways of defining innovation in their respective companies. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. But first of all, everybody knows the routine. Please, keep your computers and keep everything muted. For those of you that are watching this, you will have an opportunity to ask questions through the chat feature. And my co-pilot, Stacy Smith, who you can't see on here right now, she'll be helping me identify any questions that come up in chat, so we can make sure that we can get a response from the panel. As many of you know, RMI, every other year, we do what's called a Champions of Maryland Manufacturing. And the purpose is to celebrate the stakeholders that represent all those kind of precious gems that are part of the treasure chest of what makes up Maryland manufacturing. As an organization, we knew when we first began that it was important that we would have representatives of business and education, government, labor, and community, all working together for one single message: improve the climate for manufacturing in Maryland. So when we talk about this, the champions of Maryland manufacturing, we're actually talking about representatives from all those different constituency groups. It's important to showcase the way in which each and every one of those distinct groups and people play a role in helping Maryland manufacturing to be competitive. The champions typically has 6 or 7 categories. Today's event is going to be on innovation. So what we have are the champions of Maryland manufacturing of innovation, 2 of which were our People's Choice winners. And Stacy, I believe we had over 14,000 people vote for the People's Choice winners. So I want to congratulate those of you that won in these categories. But first, I want to begin by thanking the sponsors, those people that make it possible for RMI and other organizations like RMI to bring to you the activities and programs that we offer. So let me begin with mentioning Marjorie Cota, who's representing Mike Kelleher and the Maryland MEP. As everybody knows, RMI and MEP have been, we've been connected at the hip for years. And Marjorie, I'd like for you to have you say a couple of words. And again, I want to thank you and Mike and MEP team for being a premier sponsor for our entire series throughout the year. Marjorie.
Thank you, Mike and Stacy. It's reciprocal. We can't say enough about RMI for continuing to allow Maryland MEP, the Manufacturers Extension Partnership, be part of the Champions event, and for being such, a great partner in all things manufacturing. We're so excited to continue to support and promote your Champions program because we think it's critical for all of us to be able to share the stories of what makes Maryland manufacturing so great. So congrats to all the panelists today. For those of you who may not know Maryland MEP, we are a nonprofit committed to helping those manufacturing companies in Maryland enhance their bottom line and continue to grow. We have a variety of programs and services that will allow you to grow the bottom line, from technology, workforce development. So if you're having any issues or things that are keeping you up late at night, just feel free to reach out or log on to our website for more information at mdmep.org. And lastly, if I could do a shameless plug for our upcoming Manufacturing Innovation Executive Leadership Summit, which is going to be held on September 30th at UMBC. And in the interest of partnership with RMI, for any of you who are on the call today or listening to the webinar, we would like to offer you a discounted ticket to participate. You can register using the code MEP100, which is up in the upper right-hand corner or left-hand corner, which will take $100 off of your registration price. So again, thank you, Mike, for having Maryland MEP as your committed partner. And again, congratulations to all the panelists. And we will look forward to seeing, hopefully, Air Agility there doing performance of their drones. So thank you again for having us.
You got it, Margie, and thank you. And also, I just want to underscore, RMI is a sponsor of the MEP's program coming up. So please sign up for that. It's going to be a great, great event. At this time, I'd like to introduce one of our two supporting sponsors, Carroll Fuel Network. Tim Rohde, a good friend, approached us with this idea of a great member benefit for RMI members. And so, Tim, I'm going to call on you and ask you to let folks say a few words about the program. And again, I want to thank you for supporting RMI. Tim Rohde.
Thanks, Mike. It's really our pleasure. And we want to start out by congratulating all the champions of Maryland manufacturing, especially those that are on today with innovation, and also to RMI for helping keep the manufacturing sector moving forward during these challenging times. If it wasn't for you guys, things would be much, much tougher. Carroll has a program that's designed to help businesses in the manufacturing sector, whether they're manufacturing directly or they support the manufacturing sector, to save money on the fuel they use for their business vehicles. What we've done is we've used new technology to create an app that your drivers can use to go to any of our participating stations and get wholesale pricing on fuel. And it's really neat. They don't have to go in the store. You don't wait for a rebate. There are no cards. There are no fees. There are no minimums. You just sign on to the program. And when you come to any of our participating stations, your drivers can pull in and get gasoline or diesel at wholesale prices. Now, being in the wholesale fuel business, we offer different tiers of wholesale pricing based on volume. A company that uses 500 gallons a month would get one wholesale price. A company that uses 5,000 gallons a month would get a different wholesale price, but it would be below the pole, right? What we've arranged for RMI and any company that's involved with RMI is to get our lowest wholesale price. So we have a 10,000 gallon a month price that's only offered for our highest volume customers. And any company that is involved with RMI that goes in and enrolls in through the RMI portal will get that lowest price. Again, no fees, there's no commitments, there's no minimums. You don't have to sign up for a year. It's just what'll happen is our representatives will contact you. You'll complete the application and they'll come and show you how to use the app. Your driver's downloaded. It works on Android. It works on iOS. There are navigation features that show you how to get your drivers how to get to the nearest station that's working. And altogether, the more companies that use this in the manufacturing sector, the more it helps RMI as well. So we're delighted to support this essential part of the Maryland economy. Again, we want to congratulate RMI and all of the winners of this award. And watch your email box. I think we got a message out earlier this week. Stacy sent one out. We've got a mailing coming out soon with some hard copy, like a trifold brochure with more information on it. But I'm sure Mike and Stacy can put my contact information in the meeting info or something to follow up. Anybody has any interest, just reach out to me. We'll have somebody get in touch with you. Just to give you an idea, our customers right now are saving hundreds or even thousands of dollars every month on fuel, depending on how many vehicles they've got and the extent to which they use fuel. So I'm just going to sign off with that and hand it over to Mike.
Tim, thank you. Last night I gassed up. It was $3 for regular a gallon. So this is a good time for a program like this. And I want to thank you for your commitment. I think it's important to remind people that those folks that are sponsors of our events, they're really advocates for manufacturing. They're out there helping us to grow our industry. So in addition to the wonderful services that they offer, they're also the folks that are stepping up. And so I like to just remind everybody of that role that they've decided to play. And one of those concepts, the next person I want to introduce is Josh Clemens from CFG Bank. And I can tell you, CFG Bank, it was like a whirlwind. They got on the scene and they stepped up. They have stepped up big time for Maryland manufacturing. And Josh, I want to thank you and the entire team over there. And in the very different ways in which you supported us. And I'm also going to mention RMI has a partnership with Maryland Public Television to promote a 13-part series of Maryland manufacturing. And I know that CFG was a major supporter of that initiative. And so again, that is really a meaningful contribution for advocating for the importance of Maryland manufacturing. So with that introduction, Josh, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. We'll keep it brief. We really appreciate you guys having us, and we're really proud to be a supporter here for RMI. When I talk about CFG, you could talk for a long time, but the main things I think about when I think about CFG compared to the million other banks in the country is, we're very entrepreneurially focused. We're owned by a single individual, which is quite rare. Very few other places can say that. And that affords us a tremendous amount of flexibility with our customers. That also allows us to, we revamped our back office recently to where we can give our customers faster answers than most other banks. We have the capability to do loans as low as a few $100,000 up to $30 million. So that accommodates a lot of different types of customers and a lot of different types of needs. And we're also really proud that we're now the biggest Baltimore-based bank. So that's a proud distinction we have now with a recent merger. And with that, that sometimes causes some disruptions in customers. So we try to, be there for changing times. And you also have access to you can meet with the owner of the bank. You can meet with the executives of the bank, and occasionally you get to meet with me. I'm not as fun as the other ones, but no, we really like to take care of our customers and very proud to be working with RMI. So thank you.
Josh, thank you. And also you guys were big supporters of our very successful golf outing. And we all had a lot of fun that day. That's for darn sure. One of the things I want to go back and mention that this obviously this presentation is being recorded, and everyone will receive a link from Stacy Smith at later on today with the recording of this whole program. So you don't need to worry about it. We'll get that information to you. So as I indicated earlier, we had 3 dynamite companies. And let me begin to introduce the representatives of those companies first. I'm going to mention all 3 first. We have Greg Paulson, who is the Director of Application Engineering from Exometry. We have Ivandro Valenti, who is the co-founder and CTO of Airgility. And we have Dave Reynolds, who is the General Manager of SAP. So these companies all represent a very unique and different aspect of innovation. So Greg, I'm going to start with you. There's a very interesting, I'm going to say human interest story as it relates to a project that both you and Michael Raphael, Director Mentions, were engaged in. So let me start with Greg for 5 minutes and tell us about that project.
Yeah, and again, thanks, Mike, and thank you, RMI, for this event. And the Champions of Manufacturing event was also very cool. I know a lot of us at Xometry located around the Gaithersburg, Rockville, Bethesda area. We have a few locations there, and we're always excited about what we could do with Maryland manufacturing. And these stories, keep us moving and keep us motivated. Quick background on Xometry itself: we are a global on-demand manufacturing platform, and we were started about 8 years ago, and since then have grown to form this global company. In fact, actually, we went public in late June, which was surreal and very exciting for us. But what we do is we connect buyers and suppliers, and whether you are a Fortune 50 company or independent inventor, we have a way for you to get instant pricing on a lot of your parts. So a quick upload of a 3D file will get you pricing for your manufacturing project, and you press order. And we're connected with thousands of suppliers, both domestically and across the globe, that allow you to get the sweet spot suppliers, the people that do that work really well in the manufacturing network, and get that instant connection. And to Mike's point here, this is not a Fortune 50 story, but this is a very fun story that we have from someone who needed a part, and it started in Missouri. News reporter was checking in. She had a segment called Problem Solvers, And this Missouri farmer has essentially a therapeutic chair that is kind of like his special purchase he had because of some nerve issues, and he's just a farmer working day in and day out. And a piece broke on it. And typically, as a farmer, he's just like, okay, let me just go and fix it. But this part was too complex to fix, and he searched around, tried to contact the original manufacturer, and the manufacturer just vanished. Literally, like, F rating, Better Business Bureau doesn't exist. No customer support, goes nowhere on that. And Fox 4 Missouri did a report on it, and just to highlight that business. But the reporter wanted to go one step further and be like, can we solve this problem? Can we do something about it? So she reached out to Xometry, and as I mentioned, like, one of our magic powers is we are connected. We are connected with manufacturers and capable companies to help solve these types of problems. We got excited about this, contacted the farmer themselves, and got some of these parts in. Now, one thing that is, when we start, we usually have the technical package. We usually have the CAD data or the design in hand. But when you have I have a part, can you make another situation? It requires reverse engineering. And some of these parts were simple, like a washer, which we could reverse engineer. But I really needed to raise my hand and contact our friends over at Direct Dimensions, which is another Maryland-based company who are just world leaders in 3D scanning, reverse engineering, and had a really awesome experience with Michael, Harry, and the team at Direct Dimensions on going through the entire RE process of taking this part, 3D scanning it, taking that and seeing that data go from like a raw scan data into a parametric solid, which in our world means like I could actually make it now and make it accurate. And then Xometry was able to reproduce these items using our large format 3D printing to create essentially this very long geared spline, and creating a pair of those to send back to the farmer. We were actually part of a Fox 4 event for this, where we were watching nervously as this farmer was installing these objects, and we never saw how we didn't know how they would install. We had a pretty good guess because we understand the manufacturing technologies we used, and sure enough, it worked just fine, and we're back in action. So it's just very exciting to see how you could go from I need something made to getting that fulfilled, and also being able to loop in teams like Direct Dimensions to really take on some of that challenging reverse engineering design aspect was just really fulfilling for us.
Greg, thank you. Also want to mention, I always like to throw in a plug for first of all, both Xometry and Direct Dimensions are members of the RMI board of directors. So I have to throw in a little extra here with Xometry, but Randy knows this. As everyone recognizes, we're in the fourth industrial revolution. Digitization is changing the way in which we organize and do work. Xometry, beyond this story, is what I call a 4.0 platform. I really think that you're going to be Xometry is a catalyst for significant change in how manufacturers in your respective area are operating differently to be more globally competitive. So maybe we can get to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
A new friend that I just met is Evandro Valenti. And as I was talking with him the other day and looking at the website, I said, Evandro, I said, do you mind if I introduce agility as the marriage between drones and artificial intelligence? And he was okay with that. But his story, that's part of his story. But the other story is how we focus on innovation in terms of connecting with resources to make you successful. So Evandro, could you give us 5 minutes on that, please?
Yes, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with everyone and talk a little bit about our story and then how we approach the innovation and through its execution, which is really, really important. Otherwise, it dies on the vine. So I am from the University of Maryland, been here since 2000 as undergrad and then graduate student, and then taught here for 13 years. And then ultimately disclosed some intellectual property to the university and spun off of the university. And we're located at the Discovery District here in College Park. And through that journey, the original concept here that's right behind me came to me when I was a faculty advisor for something that I had initiated while I was a student called Design, Build, and Fly. So on a yearly basis back then through the 2000s, we would design and build and then fly an aircraft, a new system on a yearly basis. And then I did that as an undergrad and graduate student and faculty advisor with none other than Dr. Darrell Pines. Dean Pines is now President Pines. So in 07, when we flew a 3-foot version of this aircraft, which is a revival from NASA Langley's flying pancake airplane from the late 30s and 40s, said to myself one day, if I own my company to be doing XYZ to this aircraft, which included vertical takeoff and landing modification. Then the entrepreneurial setting here at the University of Maryland began maturing around me. Back then it was Office of Technology Commercialization that was starting to firing up on all cylinders. And then also there's MTech in the background. There's MTIP nowadays that we also use. And of course, TEDCO with Maryland Innovation Initiatives. So now this thing is patented behind me. And we are the exclusive licensee to it from the University of Maryland. And through that journey from about 7 years ago, we went through Maryland Innovation Initiative funding phase 1, 2, 3, which they're no longer called phases 1, 2, 3, by the way. I just haven't memorized them. And then also we ended up doing a Maryland industry partnership programs for 4 years in a row with MTech. And then also managed to get some other traction with SIBR through National Science Foundation. And also we managed to get some DHS project for the Department of Homeland Security, which was a vehicle that was smaller than this for indoor flying. So when that came along, that's when we pivoted to an all 3D printed aircraft that isn't that big, that is a lot smaller. And its current embodiment is this. Can you believe it that this right here came from that? I don't have it handy here in the room. I have the predecessor to this, which looks a lot more like that. So in that journey, we essentially sliced this aircraft here in half and then mirrored it and then retained the thrust vectoring, okay? And then since then we made some other sexier body cuts to allow better aerodynamics. But we really built on the technology that started on this vision of vertical takeoff and landing with thrust vectoring, with expanded flight capabilities. And then in going into indoor flying, because of our proximity here in Maryland to the University of Maryland and the Robotics Center of Maryland, which is an excellent master's program, we've now made the full lurch in bringing in all of the fun edge processed AI and non-AI based algorithms that perform flying for us. And we've done several demos where with 10 seconds of training, we've had children even go and fly our vehicle indoors and navigate it. And all they had was 10 seconds of training. We've actually gone as far as saying, go ahead and intentionally try to crash that aircraft and the algorithms won't let you. So that's a little bit of a crash course on what we do with our vision for aerodynamics, our vision for algorithms that fly on board to really enable missions that would be very hard to perform or require quite a bit of training to actually do on a regular basis. So maybe did I get to a little bit of what you wanted, Mike?
Yeah, and we're going to get, I'm telling you, it's such an interesting story. And I love the fact you're a student. I mean, this is such a great success story beyond what, the immediate conversation. The fact that you were a student who now has gone on to be a successful entrepreneur and businessman. I mean, what a great story. And I want to personally congratulate you. That's such an achievement. And it also says a lot about the University of Maryland and how and you mentioned MTech, and I'm very familiar with them. They have a long history of connecting faculty members to manufacturers. They're just a great organization. And we'll get back to you with some questions. I want to move on to Dave. So Dave Reynolds from SAF. Dave, you're going to talk to us a little bit about how your company became more competitive, I guess, or as a result of advanced technologies, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so hello and good morning. As Mike said, that I'm the general manager here in Cockeysville in one of our space and defense divisions. First of all, I'd like to thank Mike and everybody at RMI and those that voted for SAFT and the People's Choice Award. And I also like to take an opportunity to congratulate Greg and Evandro and their companies as well. It's a job well done and very impressive work they do. So SAFT is owned by Total Energies, which is one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. And they're a major player in renewable energies. And they acquired us in 2016, and we join in their fight against climate change. But SAFT is made up of 5 separate divisions with very specific applications. The first one is industrial standby, and then we have mobility, energy storage systems, connected energies, and obviously space and defense. As a leading battery company, we've been in business for over 100 years, and we've been delivering critical batteries and systems to missions across the globe for backup power, propulsions, and many other applications key to military and in private sectors. So some of the key applications that we do cover are batteries for the Joint Strike Fighter program, high performance racing, which is very exciting, communication satellites, and many other specialty applications. A lot of our customers come to us with a blank piece of paper, and my key people here in engineering and R&D will go through a lot of dialect with the customers to give them an option that is specific to their needs, which is kind of our forte. Like a lot of other companies, last year was very challenging for us, but we were able to maintain this highly skilled workforce while maintaining a very safe work environment for our employees during the rise of COVID. Created a lot of challenges. Engineers were actually able to submit an enormous number of patents while they work from home. I apologize, my light goes out when I don't move, saving energy, right? We're one of 2 space and defense sites, the other's in Poitiers, France, and we share a lot of platforms with them. But this site is also one of 2 research and development centers globally, with the other being in Bordeaux, France. This team is led by our Chief Technical Officer, Kalman Nechev, who resides right here in Cockeysville for us. This is where our true innovation and creativity of these highly skilled personnel occur. It's also where these leading scientists, as Mike said, are competing with the industry in the next game changer, which is also known as solid state batteries. The goal of that technology is to enhance safety while increasing energy density. In short, energy in a much smaller package is much more valuable, as some batteries can be very large and very heavy to move about. Some of our, or a lot of our applications are in some mobile environments where they have to move it around quite often. So this is can help us go in a long ways. Also, the solid state performance can take it to a whole new level, as current electrolytes are very flammable and dangerous if not controlled properly, which is where our innovative control systems come in our batteries. We have partnered with several local and US companies, along with other agencies, to help further advance this work in R&D. Just to mention a few, we've been working with Miltech on introducing a laminate coating for electrodes that will help to remove the need for a separator, which acts as a barrier between the anode and cathode. This also could lead to new opportunities in solid state technology. We work very closely with the University of Maryland on several different projects. These are all aimed at research in things like removing the electrolyte and using an aqueous solution or other potential mediums in its place. As I mentioned, the electrolyte is usually what you see the excitement in a battery fire. It helps us to further our development in solid state batteries. Another key player is the Defense Logistics Agency, a government agency funding to optimize the electrochemistry and compositions and the structure of the lithium ion cells. This technology is very key in moving forward in our roadmap, which many people are not aware, but solid state's been around a long time, but it's just been very difficult to manufacture in high volumes. Materials are hard to come by. And now with the EV market pushing towards solid state, it makes quite a challenge for us with our suppliers. So it's very challenging and very exciting, and we're moving rather quickly over the last year and a half, and we look forward to the next couple of years to get to market on these things. Those are just a few efforts that we do in the innovative battery industry. These key programs help ensure safe and reliable operation of our most critical applications, especially for the warfighter. So, Mike, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Dave, thank you. And I think on your website or in the Champions thing, you refer to the solid state as the holy grail of batteries. So we're going to keep an eye on what you guys are doing over there and see if you can get us to that place where we need to be. Also, I want to mention, I'll get to questions in a minute. You mentioned energy, so it really gives me an opportunity to mention that the Regional Manufacturing Institute for a number of years has been involved in a partnership with the Maryland Energy Administration. We're very strong advocates about energy efficiency in manufacturing. And the interesting thing is I remember Michael Raphael, some 15 years ago, we did a conference on 3D printing, right? It was the first one in the region. And today we got two companies that exist because of 3D printing. We probably got a third company that's used it in some ways. So these technologies are, and 3D printing is an energy, it's an energy saving technology. It really does. So just want to mention that you're going to hear more from RMI about sustainability and how energy efficiency is a very important part of what we need to be doing to be more competitive. So, all right, well, we do have, I sent an email to everyone or a chat to everyone saying, send in your questions. And Ken Sikonovich, you have a question for Avandro. Avandro, he says, is Avandro looking into DoD contracts for the VTOL planes and AI controls? And you might have to interpret that too for everybody.
Yeah, no problem. VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing.
Okay.
Is what that stands for. Yeah, so we have a cyber activity going on. End of last year, we were selected but not funded. There was quite numerous companies from the Air Force who wound up falling into that category for the reasons that be. So we have a lot of fish in the water for cyber phase 1 and 2 that we're waiting to hear back. We haven't done an official disclosure yet on a subaward that we have with the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. So there's some good news there. So eventually we'll release that information, what that project's about. But we have quite a bit of interest, and we were just in Vegas for the Air Force AFWERX challenge for flight line security. And that was for exactly that, flight line security force type of usage of our systems that have on board algorithms. We're besides the quadrotor that I showed, we're also developing this guy. Look at that, all 3D printed as well.
Wow.
Okay, so this one is the baby version of that, right? See it? But this one is for counter UAS. It's an actual kamikaze aircraft to autonomously seek and destroy trespassing drones. So we are doing everything we can to have the vehicles go perform the mission, and in many cases possibly not return. because we believe that within robotics, the robot serves us the most when it entertains going into danger the most, right? We don't send someone in, we send a robot. So our mission statement at Agility is to save and improve lives. So that's either removing the threat, eliminating the threat, or not sending someone into threatening situations. Or if they have to go in, they go in with the most amount of knowledge possible. So hopefully that kind of gives a good rundown here. But yes,
Yeah, I think you answered the question. He hasn't responded. So, you know, as I'm listening to the three of you, I'm thinking, yeah, this is a Champions of Maryland Manufacturing, but I also think we have three shooting stars here. Each and every one of these companies are just, you know, ahead of the game. You know, you're out front. You're the companies that are showing us the way, and you're embracing technology to get there. I want to ask a question. We'll get back. I want to ask a question let's start with Greg. I want to ask a question about the leadership of your company, and Alondra, in your case, it's you, but how did you get to be an innovative organization? Talk about just a little bit about who's running your company and how is it that, you know, that you are where you are based on that leadership. Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we were co-founded in late 2013 by Randy Altschuler and Lawrence Zuriff, and they knew they wanted to be disruptive in the manufacturing sector. And they had some ideas, and the best way to do it was start from scratch. You know, to build this from the bottom up, to put technology right up front there. But with that too, the goal of Xometry has been to put AI and machine learning, doing a lot of the jobs that, for a lot of us who are on this line, who are manufacturers, who've done quotes in your life before, you know, the spreadsheet, putting those inputs and those variables, and you know, guessing what the customer, you know, will purchase this at, and we wanted to put that right up front. And so that required a few things. It required a different way of thinking. You know, not thinking like a manufacturer quoter, thinking like a machine learning data scientist, thinking like a computational in terms of computational geometry. But you also need to have common sense for the manufacturing world. And I think one of the really powerful things that I've seen being with Xometry since near the beginning is Randy and Lawrence, who are not traditionally versed in manufacturing, were able to bring on board seasoned veterans, experts in their respective fields, whether that's machining, you know, injection molding, sheet metal fabrication, additive manufacturing, and more, to bring that level of empathy and understanding and logic behind that. And we used our own work in house to build our training, and we experimented. You know, we ate our own dog food. We use our manufacturing network to send out work and pay our suppliers and understand what where that is, and that created that feedback loop. And it starts off scratchy, but as you build and build, now we're over 30,000 customers. We have over 6,000 suppliers and over 13 different manufacturing technologies. So like, that's a lot of data that really helps us train. But all that is putting technology right up front, like right at the point where it's like, I'm ready to get a part made. Boom, in seconds I get a quote, and in the check, it creates, instead of this RFQ and wait experience, it makes it feel almost like Amazon, like an e-commerce checkout for anything custom.
Well, Greg, thank you. I just learned something from you. I always love learning something from somebody much younger than me, but eating our own dog food, that's a new one, but I like it.
All right, skin in the game. How about that? But yes, yeah.
For older guys, okay, that helps
Yeah.
us out. But isn't it amazing how, and you know, artificial intelligence, we've been talking about 3D printing, artificial intelligence is going to be the lifeblood of how we operate manufacturers in the processes in the future. And you're just showing why it works for your company. Dave, how about talk? I know you talked before about the Holy Grail, but let's talk about your leadership over there and how that shaped where you guys are today.
Okay, yeah, our EVP, Annie Sennett, is head of the space and defense also, and our CEO in France both support us in automation, advancements in automation. We have recently added an automated pouch line to help feed our current customers and ultimately lead into what we can use in solid state. They give us the freedom of autonomy and empowerment. These things lead to creative thinking within the company all the way up and down the chain. Our best ideas come from the people doing the work on the floor. Without that leadership and that direction, we would be overseeing quite a bit of opportunities for improvement and advancements. We really are listening to our customers a lot more with the speed that things are happening nowadays. A lot of programs that we've had in the past take several years to develop and deliver. We are in the process of pretty much cutting those things in half due to some of these initiatives that are given to us by our senior leaders. And that's not just in my division, that's in all divisions across the globe. We have 30 we're in 30 countries, so we're moving quickly and getting that. And our parent company, Total Energies, is the same way. They want to have a carbon-free footprint in 2050, and we're working towards get rid of paper. My goal is to be a paperless plant by the end of next year. It's very ambitious of me, told by my people, but we are working in that direction, and that's kind of the things that we need to do. We're also doing a lot of additional recycling of our waste that is critical. We have a lot of hazardous materials that we're using other companies to recapture some of this material and reuse it. So it's truly renewable energy.
That's very interesting. And Dave, well, first of all, Randy over at Exometry and Annie over at Senate are clearly indications, and we heard from them. We're going to talk more with Evandro. They're really examples of it's not just that you have somebody who's an early adopter. They have to understand the value of the people and the culture of the organization. I've heard time and time again, technology by itself isn't going to get you there. So as we talk an awful lot about the technological revolution that's going on, there's also a different kind of revolution going on, I think, in terms of leadership and how you value the assets within your organization. And you mentioned the word creativity, Dave. How you pull on that to create your future. Evandro, you are the leader. But you have there's two of you over there, correct? And so maybe you can talk about that. How you get two guys operating in the same direction to create innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pramod Braheja, he's the other co-founder and my business partner, and we were kind of matched up through the Office of Technology Commercialization by a gentleman called Glenn Hellman, who was an entrepreneur in residence here at the University of Maryland at the time, 4 years ago. And then he came on board as CEO, and I remained always at the position of CTO. But prior to then, the company didn't exist yet. It was me receiving funding from Maryland Innovation Initiatives. So he and I do our best to kind of like a Venn diagram to kind of overlap each other, but not overlap too much. And that's one of the tricks and one of the balances that are just completely important. You have to shelve your ego big time in so many ways, from so many levels. In being an entrepreneur, but also in working with a partner, and then also in the various directions that things need to go. So from a capability and what we do on a daily basis, we overlap to an extent, but he has to have the freedom to do the things he needs to do, and I have to have the freedoms that I need to do as well. So that's on the capability overlap. As far as on the sync, it's no longer a Venn diagram like that. It's more like two things in time, where we have to kind of stay within each other's column, because if he goes farther ahead or this way, business-wise, he's promising too much. which is easy for business guys to do. And he doesn't do it, by the way. My business partner doesn't do that. But I'm saying the business can get ahead of the technology, or the technology can get ahead of the business, and then you're not capturing its value. So there is those two things to always think about with that partnership: the Venn diagram and capability, and where that overlap is. This is not good. This right here is not good. You're both replicating the same thing and not dividing and conquering. And also staying like this in time is also very, very important to check. And then the people side here that you're mentioning, Mike, is just incredibly important. We share that quite a bit. I have as a personal goal and CTO to have everyone that works here at Agility to be an inventor. So as an executive and CTO who has that as my personal mission, then I really seek the innovation in a very, very active fashion. What you end up hearing from all sorts of other folks out there through school or MBA or what have you, all sorts of programs, is all the external stuff, which is extremely important, and including even DCI I-Core program, right? Which is then, is there a customer? Is there a need? Will people buy? You know, there's all of those answers and questions, and then there's also the, you know, the risk factor to innovation, because to some people the word innovation doesn't trigger happy thoughts; it triggers risky thoughts. So there's all those external things, but then there's the inside things, which is all the people stuff, and that's where this thought of I want everyone to be an inventor at Agility. Can we pull that off? Well, funding is always critical, right? We can't just go making haphazard patent applications, you know, left and right. But I have that as a mission. So that means that on the inside, I'm not only looking outside for the needs and response to market forces, but inside, I'm also listening to our guys all the time. We have conversations all the time, and it's an open dialogue all the time. You have to listen, because that you're always one sentence away from someone saying something that goes, we got to put that in a patent. So we have several provisionals at the moment out there, but that's how we do it. There's the outside, but then there's the inside, for sure.
I love the fact that you're talking about, you're using the term inventors. I would, as y'all were talking, I was thinking pioneers. You know, we're a long way from the old business school courses that talked about command and control. I think those models are over with, and there's a new book being written about tapping into human resources in order to advance your company. So great story. So Wouter, let's start with you. It's kind of like rapid fire a little bit, okay? Because I always like thinking about where we're going to be in the future. All right. So can you give the audience, and just from your, you know, let's talk 5 years from now. I mean that's a lifetime. What do you, let's not talk just about your company. I was going to ask you about your company. Let's just talk about your thoughts about the industry. What do you know, can you make a comment about what manufacturing is going to look like 5 years from now? And you can describe that any way you want.
Sure. I believe that things are going to become more and more pre-canned. You know, if you, at one point in time, there's something called assembly language. And then for you to enter all that realm, you had to really be programming the zeros and ones quite explicitly. And then there's always been a migration to higher and higher level programming languages, where there's a lot that happens in the background for you, and then you can indulge into the bigger and bigger thought processes. And then as we see today, with so many building blocks for artificial intelligence being made, democratized very, very thoroughly, because so many universities, so many people are contributing into a gigantic pool. That same kind of process from assembly language to higher level language is already happening on the AI side, because all of these floating bits of, hey, I can do this kind of detection over here. Someone else now in Europe is, I can do that detection over there. All of these are kind of these zeros, of proverbial zeros and ones of nowadays. that will become more and more canned into something that's going to come next that can really thoroughly tap into all of that knowledge base being created today. So eventually, I believe the wave of the future for a lot of this kind of smarts, built-in smarts and intelligence into things, will eventually come into where there's quite a bit more awareness going on at the machine level. And then programmers are really programming into that thought process and much less into the stream of what happens inside. And that's because it's already been so pre-canned into all sorts of libraries, into all sorts of things, and so thoroughly generalized. And then that will be, if that vision happens, or when it happens, it'll be really, really exciting time because now you have people that are really programming the behaviors much more succinctly, if I said that correctly, and directly, rather than kind of just the automation of behaviors. So that's kind of what I think.
That's great insight. Dave, you're very, obviously SAFT, a very forward, progressive company. Take a shot at describing what you think manufacturing is going to look like 5 years from now.
Yeah, it's going to be very digital and very automated. It's going to be very fast, much faster than we're used to. As I mentioned earlier, it's some of our programs to develop took a long time, but our customers are now looking for much more rapid responses, and we're missing opportunities that we could capture. But as people expand into new energies away from the fossil fuels and the carbon emissions, not just in vehicles, it's in other diesel operated equipment and things like that. So I envision advancing into new markets across the globe. There's a lot of growth expected in some of the underdeveloped areas. We're pushing more and more for storage systems as a company in areas that are hit really hard by tornadoes. We have a new platform that was launched, I believe, last year into Bermuda for power. When a tornado hits and they're knocked out, they have something to rely on. And we're working closely with some of those companies and countries and governments to advance in some of those areas. And existing markets, you usually have spin-offs, and we're notorious for having creativity to take a couple different applications and make it into a new application, just to help with that speed to the market.
I think there's a common theme: speed, efficient.
Yeah.
I'm going to say transformative. It's not incremental change. It's going to be big jump changes in manufacturing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Greg, let's give you a couple of minutes here to talk about your 5 years ahead of time. What's it going to be like?
Oh, and definitely, and I think just noting, like, we are building, the platform economy, right? There's platforms that help, make connections where it used to be very opaque, or it used to be who you knew in the industry, and I think that's just going to continue to expand. But kind of jumping on what Dave's noting, with advanced technology and kind of the trends right now, a lot of things that were typically mass produced now are taking more of I wouldn't necessarily call it mass customization, but more of a mass configuration, where there's components that do the work, but the way that they're arranged is specialized for that purpose. And so and going on to, like, it's the hardware side of what Evandro was noting on the software side, where you're using like almost a UI, like a GUI, that is actually making your own hardware and developing that. I live in the world like right after Evandro, right, where like he designs a part, and my job is to make sure that it's physically real, like, turning something into a tangible reality. And I'm seeing that same type of scaling happen with CAD, which is the design software you may use to create these parts, where it's becoming much more integrated or interested in the final production method up front. And so we have really cool things that are happening right now, like something called generative design, where you can use it as a tool to help optimize for a specific process, whether it's fifth axis machining, metal stamping, or additive manufacturing. And these tools, I feel in 5 years, are not going to feel like, let me get that secondary package that I have to pay more money for my CAD. It's going to be expected. And also, I truly feel that the way that we just take for granted that, when we're texting with our thumbs and words just automatically correct themselves, like we're going to start to see that in our electromechanical hardware development systems from the CAD and programming platform, where where the system just is kind of like, I know what you meant here. That's what's actually going to show up. Like, even skip the squiggly red line that says it's a misspelling. It's just going to be like, no, this is actually what you meant. This is what bring you success. And we're going to see that more and more in the integration standpoint, both from like the software side and integrating to that hardware side as well, like them working hand in hand together.
Well, we're very close to that future, just 5 years away.
Oh, yeah.
I want to thank let me just end with a message. I mentioned Maryland Public Television before. There actually is a series on MPT right now on the future work. And I would encourage people to tune into that, because some of what you all just described, they're talking about that, and particularly the impact of artificial intelligence. I think we're in a very challenging period because we have a tendency, the big system that's trying to help manufacturing needs to understand that the solutions of the past will not work for the future. And I think as they learn, as people listen to folks like you to say it's going to be radically different. And so the programs and services for that type of manufacturing and the training for workers is going to be much different. And that's something that RMI is focused on. And we actually created a law to create a work group, a legislative work group this session to study the transformation of manufacturing and a digital economy. So we're on this. We're on top of this. Thank you to our sponsors, to MEP. Thank you to CFG. Thank you to Carol Fuels. And really, thank you very much to Evandro and Dave and Greg for a wonderful presentation. And to our audience for joining us. And you all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.